What's going on, world? I go by the name of Chris.
I'm Kanisha. I'm Arian.
Tony.
It's Rebecca.
It's your boy Terry.
And we are the Skinners.
The Protos.
And we are the
A-Team.
And this is...
And this is
the Marriage Plug.
The Marriage Plug.
The Marriage Plug.
Like a fairy tale, but this ain't a movie. Yeah. The way you make me feel, you do something to me. Yeah. I want my hands locked in yours.
Let's go! Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another episode, The Marriage Plug. We in the house, make some noise.
What's up? Hey.
I was gonna say, Kanisha, make some noise. I like your pinky green. Listen, y'all, I am so excited about this episode. This is something new. My guy Tony down at H-Town. What's up, Tom? He just came up with this idea that we're gonna introduce another segment to the Marriage Plug where we talk about movies. And these are movies that I think you guys should definitely watch and check out. The first one is only right to start off with our Uncle T. If you don't know who Uncle T is, this is the official billionaire, Tyler Perry, and we're doing his movie Acrimony. This is an amazing movie. Like that, Terry. Terry was like, "I'm Uncle T." so we got this movie topic that we're gonna talk about. I really think that we got some amazing points. Without further ado, I want to introduce to some and present to others this beautiful, amazing, fine woman that I was able to bag in college. You know what I'm saying? She's gonna go ahead and start us off with, what we talking about right now. Make some noise for Arian.
Hey guys, golf clap. What's up, guys? So we chose Acrimony because if you guys have seen it, it's so much stuff to unpack in this movie. And not just the crazy drama part, but it's just so much stuff to unpack when it comes to relationships and marriage. So the first thing I want to kick it off with is the name of the movie. So in the beginning, if you guys have seen it, it starts off with like some synonyms or some acronyms of what acrimony means. So I was like, that is so good. So I'm just going to read a couple of them and then I'm going to go into why I think that I started with that. So acrimony, some acronyms are bitterness, anger, ill feeling, bad blood, animosity, hostility, spite, venom. It's a lot of bad stuff. That's some harsh stuff. So I wanted to start off with that because the name itself is just saying all of what I just said. And in a relationship, and in marriage, y'all, when you fall over to having bitterness, anger, malice, ill will, venom, whether you still stay together or not, when I say from my perspective of staying together, y'all, it does nothing. So for me, I got some ill feelings towards Chris, and it's so funny because one of my mentors was like, Arian, do not fall over into anger because it will consume you. And I was like, ooh, let me do my little on the floor quiet cry for a little bit. But she really said what I needed to hear because I don't know. I feel like it's like a monster that can grow inside of you, and it has control over what you say, how you think, how you act, your kindness. Because, I wouldn't consider myself the nicest person, but I think I'm kind. I think I'm kind to people. I think I treat people with fairness and respect. But when I'm angry, it's like a whole cold front, and I could care less about that person. So let's talk about how, certain feelings in the marriage can be for or against it. And, as we go on along with this call, the rest of my TMP folks, we go talk about some other things that can happen while we're dating and in a marriage as far as acrimony.
Rebecca? Oh, wait, let me do the intro. Wait, ladies and gentlemen, they are still, until further notice, until they are defeated, the Super Bowl champions, looking good after Sunday's game or whatever day that was, all the way from Kansas City, the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl champions, the Skinners.
I don't think that the time is acceptable anymore, sweetheart.
What you got for us, Rebecca?
AP Skinner trying to be correct.
AP Skinner.
I feel so many things I want to share, Arian, when you talk about the feelings and emotions that can really cause damage in your marriage. Not only anger is one that can really do damage, but it's also resentment.
Yes.
I think we've talked about it before, but let's say, for an example, you continue to, I don't know if the word is compromise, but you continue to just give and give and give and give on stuff, but in turn, you don't receive, or you don't have compromises where it's 50-50. So neither one of us are really getting what we want, however we're agreeing upon this thing, right? But if you continue to like give in an area and nobody else is giving, like trying to give a little bit of their wants or needs and things of that nature, you can create resentment in your heart. And I think that's a killer to a relationship, because the resentment is silent. It festers and it's deep in your heart. It's not necessarily expressed. However, it may not be expressed with your words, but it's expressed through your actions. And I feel like when you begin to resent your spouse or your significant other, that can really do damage to your relationship. And they very well may not even know what it is, you know? So I think that's a silent killer.
What about? I think we was gonna say the same thing, Kanisha. Like, so you bring up a good point, Rebecca. Like, what about how can trauma relate to some of those feelings and stuff that we experience?
Also, what are some examples from the movie that you were able to pull from?
Yeah, so the whole fact that she had to have a full hysterectomy before she was 21, that is traumatic for a woman. I think a lot of women identify with being a woman as being able to bring life into the world, and so you may sometimes feel less than, if like for indefinite you can't. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even have the organs to do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, I can't imagine experiencing that. I mean, go ahead.
I just want to jump in. If you haven't seen the movie yet, you want to stop looking at it right now, because we're going to ruin this movie for you. So,
spoiler.
Yeah, if this is the tea, it's gonna be upside down. Okay. So I just wanted to jump in and say that. My bad.
Yeah, no, definitely a full-on spoiler alert. But I feel like when a woman experiences that type of trauma, how that manifests in a relationship is crazy. So I want to know what you all also think about how does trauma, like personal trauma, impact a relationship. So what about the personal trauma that you bring into a relationship? How does that manifest itself when you're dealing with a significant other?
I think that too, like some of the things that we saw, just in the movie, like her mother died. So that, losing a parent, especially, that young, is absolutely traumatic. And that's something that, not that you can't recover from, but that is just one of those wounds that you are going to have probably forever. Not to say that you can't move on past that. It's just that hurt never really, fully goes away. And I think that it's unfortunate that what we see in the movie is that not that he preyed on it necessarily, but I think he knew, that she was in a vulnerable state. And I think that I hate to say it, but am I wrong? We all saw the movie. He kind of like, it looked like he was just there for her, right? But then you see her going to his like trailer or whatever, and they end up, our daughter's in another room, so I'm not gonna say the word, but you know what they end up doing after that. And then she was gone after that. I mean, in terms of like that emotional attachment, because she also lost her virginity to him, if y'all remember. So that within itself, and I think that it's important for us to also realize that even if it's not trauma, different experiences that we go through in life, traumatic or not, mold and shape who we are as people, as individuals. And that is just one of those things that unfortunately, like you see in the movie, made her extremely, extremely vulnerable. And I also believe that he knew that. It's unfortunate, but I mean,
I think that's college.
I mean, most men, when they go off to college, they're they looking for someone that they can prey on. At the end of the day, he don't know nothing about her life. He looked at her like, hey, she's an attractive woman. She already done beat me up.
Yeah, she beat the
no
mess out of
reason.
him.
So it's like, I mean, in his mind, he like, so she aggressive too? So he got other intentions. So I'm not gonna put it just on him, like looking out for her. Like he didn't do no background check on her.
I'm just saying she was vulnerable. That's all.
But the thing is,
That's real, Tony.
That is real though.
He might have preyed on her and might have done all that, but also she still had a choice. She still had a choice to say no or not give him a ride back home. Let him go ahead and walk to the train.
But let's be clear. He walked to make sure that she was okay. I don't know how far the walk and the journey was, but I'm pretty sure he would have been able to find some just regular,
He could
stuff
find anything on the corner.
on the right.
Yeah.
He done traveled. He done walked to make sure she was okay. And honestly, that's why I disagree with the praying part, because if you putting in that much effort, a prayer you want it quick and easy. That's just me personally.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
true.
And then there are a lot of things that she did to. If he prayed, she pacified. I mean, she bought the dude a car.
That was after the fact.
Yeah,
no.
that's what I mean.
Like during the trailer, yeah. But I think one of the points that I can't remember if KP or Rebecca said it, but when the mother died, I didn't think about that until just now. But I think the mother not being present is a large reason why he was probably as involved in her life. Without that she had a peer guidance, even though sisters may have been like a mother, there's nothing like a parent. And so I think the parent would have been like, girl, first of all, you in college, you need to slow down, have fun, and kind of give her some proper guidance. So that way, if he was one of those people where, yeah, she may have had an emotional attachment, she may have had in physical and all of these different things, having that mom there to say, you know what, all of us have had that before, and this is how we got over it. It could have been a difference between if they would have made it in a relationship or not. But yeah, there's so many factors. Sad.
So just to give like a personal experience that Rebecca is talking about, like my parents divorced. So that is a trauma coming into dating and especially a marriage. So I don't know if this is bad or good, but if you go into a marriage saying, I'm not going to be like my parents, and you're having that mindset just to have it, you know what I mean? Without understanding the work that goes into it. I mean, it's easy just saying, oh, I'm not going to do that. But actually being in a marriage and understanding the work that it takes, the ups and downs, the compromise, you know what I mean? Sometimes you being happy and then a couple months later for a long period of time, you're not happy, because marriage is not just happiness. So I think having that mindset and saying, I'm never going to get a divorce, that can be bad. And let me say, this isn't my relationship, but this is for someone else. If someone goes into a relationship just saying, my parents divorced, my dad wasn't there, my mom wasn't there, but I'm going to stay with them, I'm never going to get a divorce. What happens if there's some type of abuse going on, whether it's mental, physical, emotional? You know what I mean? You don't just want to have that staunch statement, like, I'm not going nowhere, it is what it is, So I think that is another thing to consider when you're going into a marriage or relationship. You can't just make all situations or all statements fit one, because it doesn't. So that's just kind of my personal thing about the relationships that Rebecca asked.
KP?
I just thought about something as you were talking, sis. So also when we're talking about, red flags as well, I remember her saying in the movie, so Taraji P. Henson's character's name was Melinda, and the other guy's name was Robert. And I remember her saying, we got to a point, you see them in the mirror, they're still young, they're washing their face, and then they're getting older, right? So apparently 18 years has gone by, and you just see this look of just utter, disgust every single day, right? And she said, how did we get to this point? We're just existing. We're not really living. these 18 years pass like days. So when you were talking about, and sis, I'm sorry, I forgot exactly what you said that made me think about that, but it was like, whoa, how do you get to that point that you're existing in a relationship for 18 years and just looking at each other like, all right, you know, hey, you going to work? All right, bye. So you get like
no kids, like
right, like
it's not the normal explanations, you know.
So at what point then do you say, I can't do this anymore, or are you okay with being content? You know what I mean? Because at that point, it seemed like that's what it appeared to be, contentment, right? We're existing, we're not really living, and I'm okay with that. So whose fault is that? You hear what I'm saying? That they're okay. Technically, both of them are okay with just existing, I guess, you know, and not really living.
So it's like it's all on point.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I kind of get it. But
yeah.
What? We can't hear you, Tony.
My bad. I said I kind of get it, but yeah.
Oh yeah. So I mean, when you brought up red flags, that's true, you know, and even your point with like, how do you exist for that long? I think there were so many red flags in this movie with those two particular characters, but especially Taraji's character in this movie. From when they first bumped into each other, I don't know. I mean, we talked about it, but like she started welling on this guy. Like, exactly. Right. The dog understands. The dog gets it. That's messed up. Right. So I mean, you know, there were so many different things that was
right
involved in. Yeah, I know it was right on point. We paid, ladies and gentlemen, we paid the dog, you know, so sponsored by Tim. So I mean, there were so many different red flags that I seen on her part, and I think that a lot of us seen through all of the different characters. So I mean, I think that's a relevant thing, because when you look at the red flags and we talk about some of the trauma, that's a small preview of what's going to happen 10, 15, 20 years later. The thing is, it's just going to get massively amplified 10, 15, 20 years later, because a lot of that stuff is really just brewing. It's just kind of stirring in a pot. And it's like the seasonings, like all of the seasonings just fall at the bottom at first. As you begin to, you know, stir it and boil it, you go through life, you have experiences, you stack on this trauma on top of this trauma. Then you start to realize, like, you know what, the person I was at this time when we first met, I'm not that person anymore. And, you know, for your spouse, they get to see the worst of that sometimes. So yeah, that's essentially, KP, I think that's how it happens. We look at, you know, we fall in love with certain sections of our life. And I think that we celebrate and we hang on to those sections of life so much that when you kind of have like the valley of it, you don't pay attention to like what's going on currently. So I think they were so in love with the college days and the good old days that they, you know, they skipped over 5 years, and those 5 years of just this slum, it was just completely ignored because you're so stuck here. And then when you kind of come to it, you're at 10 years and you realize that, you know, in this case at 18, I can't stand him. I can't stand him. I can't stand her. And it just leaves room for so many other things. So, yeah. Welcome back.
So, huh?
I just told Rebecca, welcome back.
So I'm thinking too, when we're talking about relationships and how it's easy to just look up and, oh shoot, you know, there goes 18 years. I think it's important for people to also realize, you know, that you're one person, right? Two people come into a relationship to make that relationship, but at the end of the day, you're still two individuals. And I feel like we talked about several aspects of what we have already discussed in, like, you know, previous videos, but that is still true. You know, it's important for us to understand that nobody can drive you crazy necessarily. I mean, we say stuff like that all the time, like, oh, you're going to make me crazy. You're going to make me do this. You're going to make me do that. Because if we talk to Taraji's character in the movie, I guarantee you she'll say, he did it. Yep. It's his fault. He did this, and then I did this. Yeah. Regardless of that fact, I understand that we cannot control someone else's actions. However, we are in control of how we react or how we respond at the end of the day. So it's kind of like those, you know, that concept of you show other people how to treat you by what you allow them to do. You know what I'm saying? Like if somebody, let's just say if somebody calls me a name, or my husband calls me a name that I don't like, a pet name or something, but I keep letting them do it, what signal does that send him? That I'm cool with it, right? I'm okay with it because I don't say anything. But if I say, you know what, babe, I really don't like that name, it could spark old feelings about something, negative feelings, traumatic things, right, that could have happened, anything. So it's important for us to realize that nobody can treat you any other kind of way unless you allow them to do it. Go ahead, bro.
So I got a question that maybe I'm posing to everyone. What is it about when we first get into our relationship that really is the driving point with the relationship as it pertains to individuality? So here it is, I have X amount of years of being an individual, may or may not have been in relationships. This person has the same exact thing on the opposite side of the coin. X amount of years of, maybe relationships, maybe not. And then we come together. Like, what is it about the individuality that works so well? Because what I realize is for the couples that have been married for a long time and happy, for the majority of their marriage, like Arian said, the whole thing is not going to be just this, like laughs and giggles. But what do you guys think? How much of that happiness do you think is attributed to individuality?
I think you have to have an opportunity to just be you. You have to have an outlet where I can just be Rebecca and Terry can just be Terry. And one of the outlets that he has is playing basketball with his boys. He has multiple groups that he plays with, right? But he doesn't get to do that all the time. But when he did that today, he got the opportunity just to be Terry. And I think that is so important because you can get totally caught up in who you are together and lose yourself. And that's the thing. You don't want to lose yourself because what you bring into the relationship is you, right? And who you were before. And I think when life happens and you're married and you got kids or you have all these different titles, you're in leadership, you are this, you are that, right? You're so many things for so many other people. But when you have the opportunity to be just your full self, just you as an individual, I think that almost like fuels you to give more to the relationship. What do you think, babe?
I agree. And I also believe you can also get lost in. I mean, you set your goals as a married couple and you set what you want to do and the stuff you want to accomplish, but sometimes you could be chasing that so hard you lose your individuality and what you already is as yourself.
I totally agree with what you're saying, Rebecca. Like, you have to bring a piece of you to that relationship. So I think, like, in the movie, I can't recall what either of them did. They were so wrapped up in what he wanted to invent, and she was so wrapped up in just existing in her job. I can't recall them hanging out with anybody. I think Taraji's character, Melinda, hung out with her siblings every now and then, and he had no friends. I can't remember him hanging out with nobody in the movie. They showed nobody. So it's like, who are you? I mean, as far as dating in a relationship, who are you venting to? Who are you getting your relationship advice, whether it's a mentor or a parent figure? Like, who are you going to get that wisdom? Because actually, contrary to popular belief, we don't just come up with our own wisdom in a relationship. It don't happen. So if you think you can do it all by yourself, you can't. So neither one of them had anybody. They had no outlet. And that, you'll see us kind of going back and forth, but I think that's also, and I'm not going back to red flags, but I think that's a red flag. And it directly contributes to them not being individuals, and that weighed on the relationship. Like, outside of them working, I don't know, I can't even identify them as individuals or them as a married couple. I can't identify them. And I think that's a scary place to be when you're in a relationship.
KP, what you got?
I was going to say, I think a lot of times when people in those relationships like that, we're going to continue to evolve. And so individually, we all leveling up. So it's like with them in their relationship, he was still so focused on something and she was still so focused on the negative. So he's trying to evolve into this great entrepreneur, this great inventor, and she's building up so much hatred towards her own husband. You know what I'm saying? So that part of it, she was evolving into a monster. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't realize it because he's so focused. He already had tunnel vision at that point. So it's important for both couple, for the individuals to come together and still have those conversations. So just to make sure that y'all still being in line for y'all future goals too.
This goes perfect with what you were actually about to say, what you just said. Boundaries are important too when you're in a relationship. So like you said, the man was so focused on this battery or whatever, he was inventing, but she was focused on, I lost this amount of money because I've been buying stuff for you. You cheated on me and you did this and then I lost it. She was so focused on that. So they're growing like this, right? But then it's just like, had you had a conversation and just said, you know what, babe, I can't. I can't keep buying these things for you. You know what, babe, I can't do this today because it's wearing me out. You can't be mad at him because of what you allowed, right? So that's perfect. Boundaries are important too in a relationship.
She was still mad at stuff over college though. Like,
it was just like building up, right? She wasn't saying nothing, so it was just doing this, and then once it exploded. So boundaries are so important in a relationship. If you feel like you can't handle it, you can't take it, you don't want to do it, then say that. Speak up. Say something. Y'all laughing at us?
No, I was just doing the whole joke.
Church finger.
A little church, and I did a 2-finger tap. I just had something, because I know I just talked, but I had something just super quick. What you was talking about, and Kanisha, how you was saying how she didn't say anything, but I think there was a point in the beginning where she did. When they were still young and right out of high school, she was like, the money that from my parents' house is almost gone. I can't keep doing this. So she said that, and that's her being the more calm, smooth one, saying, I can't do this. We got to come up with something. And he said, why don't we just mortgage your house? So
right. Didn't he say like something like, I'll try to get a job? I feel like that.
But he glossed over it, and he basically said, babe, let's just, in a nutshell, he said, babe, let's just ride this out. I'm so close. And you're gonna have everything that you can dream of. Just rock with me. That is the selfishness. I think that's the selfish part, because she did say something. Yeah. And I think that not only a red flag, but as an individual, I think we have to have responsibility over not only how we act, but how we treat one another. And in that instance, I think that he was selfish in a marriage, because you can't, in a relationship, I would say leave him. You ain't tied down, but in a marriage, technically he ain't do nothing bad for real. You know what I mean? So how could you leave him? But then 18 years later, your life is sucked up dry, no more money. You got no more joy.
And
like nothing.
The money was on its way.
Yeah. But how long? 18, 20 years though?
Exactly.
I
do want to say a quick tidbit. If you didn't notice, did y'all see their faces? The contrast between their faces when she was signing off the mortgage on the house or whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
He's sitting here.
Yeah, he was excited.
And she's sitting here like,
oh my
God.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be tone deaf to your spouse not to see the anguish that this is causing her. You know what I'm saying?
On fire.
And so I struggle with that. You have to have some type of empathy for your spouse. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to read. If you really know your significant other, you can read when they jacked up.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? And so not only do you need to read that, but then you need to move in a way in which that is gonna support them and help them through that anguish.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, she's doing this for me. I'm happy, but it's killing her, and I don't care.
Yep.
Come on.
Or you don't see it.
So
don't see it.
So what happened with his family?
I don't know.
See, that's what I'm saying. So I'm just playing both sides. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, hey, for all that type of stuff, I think Buddy has some trauma too that they just didn't talk about. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, that's why he wasn't around people. He didn't trust nobody. He wasn't around too many people.
And
that's good, Tony.
I know. Go ahead, Terry.
No, I was saying he ain't had no family, no friends, no pet.
No.
He didn't have a dog. He didn't have a goldfish. You usually start off with a goldfish. Yeah, I know we want to be respectful of our viewers' times and everything. So, we got a couple more things to talk about. But I can't wait till we get to, because eventually we're going to talk about something that I'm itching. I can't wait to bring up. And Tony, you already kind of like started it, but before we get there, you know what I'm saying? I know we gonna wrap around to it. One of the other things that we talked about was like family and stuff like that. And so, I mean, I'll pass that back to KC and kind of let them talk about it. Kansas City, let's get it.
Oh, okay. I was like, KC.
They know who they are.
For me, family is important. But from that movie, you gotta remember that at the end, it's y'all marriage. So, I mean, you could take your points from somebody else's marriage or somebody else's perspective, and you could take that, but you really can't. At the end, it's gonna be a decision between me and you of how we gonna progress in our marriage. So I feel like her family was kind of they was shady.
Yeah. From jump.
One of the things that kind of blows my mind about this whole scenario is that family was living their vision. That was the family's business.
Yep.
So hold on. How are they gonna stop that man or hate on that man for trying to start his own?
Right.
All right.
Look. The years, it was like they were becoming impatient with his dreams. But baby, that's not your man.
Right.
Y'all living y'all's. This is y'all gonna pass this legacy down to y'all's. So, I mean, I ain't even going to get started on that and unload the whole clip on them because I know everybody else want to say something. That's just one of the things that blow my mind about this movie because it's like, come on, man, like y'all telling this man how wrong he is. But I can't even like go off on them and say, you guys like vision. They don't like vision. They had vision, but theirs was at a way more mature stage. Yeah. But guess what? They were still trying to get it together because if they lost one major client, it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas this man is like, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
It's
that's good.
I got loud. That was Jay-Z for the
I'm dropping gems, okay?
Hey, listen, I gotta try to keep up with Rebecca.
Okay. That whole time, every time her family was talking, it was pissing me off.
Man.
I mean, because they was just very disrespectful too. And as a man, or even as a woman, if I got 3 sisters, and if my sisters was very disrespectful to my wife, and I allow it, like she gonna look at me a certain way, like dang, like you're not gonna say anything. So I wonder what you've been saying to them for them to think that way, to talk about her that way. You know what I'm saying? So she was saying a lot of dirty stuff about her husband to her sisters.
Yeah.
That didn't come out of just nowhere.
Yeah.
And that's just being real.
Right.
To your point, Tony, I was gonna say I think, and I'm playing devil's advocate because I do agree with you, but I also they remember what he did in the beginning. Like they were there. Like remember the family was there when they were dating. They seen her get that hysterectomy. They seen her car get damaged. They seen her use all the money that their mama gave Melinda in that movie. They saw him cheat. They saw how she was in anguish, giving away everything, mortgaged her mama's house and everything. And at that point, they've came up with a concept about him that actually was true.
Perception.
You know what I mean? Because their perception was true based upon what they was given. You know what I mean? Not saying that he was a bad guy or didn't have trauma, but come on now. I'm sorry. If I had a sibling who's, I would treat them like.
But then at the same time, you only can be so angry at your sibling.
Yeah.
I mean, not at the sibling, at the spouse.
I know
at the spouse. And then after a while, you got to look at your sibling and be like, dang, like,
Right.
I mean, I'm wasting too much energy being mad at him.
And you still
with him.
Absolutely.
Like it's all good.
That oldest sister, she was too invested in that.
Yeah.
I feel like it takes way more energy to be pissed off with somebody than to just be happy and just support your spouse or your significant other. There's been people that, you know, shout out to Stephanie. There may be people that Stephanie's dated that I don't necessarily care for. She know it. However, I still want the best out of that relationship.
Oh, yeah,
She's in it. I want her to succeed and be successful and feel love. You know what I'm saying? Right. And only I share my feelings about a relationship if she asks. You know what I mean? Because once again, that is her life that she's living. But I also feel like, you know, the sisters had such a tight bond because it kind of appears that their dad wasn't in the picture. I'm not sure. But, you know, it seemed like they had a tight bond. And then once their mother died, the oldest sister felt like she needed to take on this motherly role and try to protect her younger sister. Exactly. And I was honestly, I'm with whoever said that. Oh yeah, Tony. He said, man, them sisters, every time them sisters talk, it pissed me off too, man. Like, you know, the middle sister was trying to be like, just go home, you know. It infuriated me. Like, I don't cuss, but it brought me to cursing because I was just so mad. I was so mad at how, you know, they treated this person, and also the quick shift when he did hit.
Yeah.
And we'll say that for later.
Oh, yeah.
That she made.
Fellas,
a quick shift.
So let me say this real quick.
Come on, Tony.
I think we all agree that at a certain point, you know, you got to be able to mute the voice of the outside influencers. I think that's our takeaway for this family thing, whether it be family, friends, your TV idol. You got to be able to hit mute and then be like, this is what our journey looks like. Right. And now, thank you so much. Like you said, Kenesha, come on, Tony. Let's talk about this last point, bro. Let's talk about when they hit.
It's calling me, man.
Take us to the promised land, Tony. Take us to the promised land.
New Jack City, Pookie.
Man,
right,
it's calling me, man.
It's calling me, man. But no, like one of my favorite parts of the movie is when my dude
he finally hit.
So, like I was saying, we was talking about his goals and his dreams, and even though it took some time, it took 18 years, but they got married, and it took some time, but it's like she was with him. She supported his business. She supported his goals and vision.
Who is she for people who?
His ex.
His initial wife.
Right. Right. You're talking about isn't the wife. It's another woman.
There's two women.
He hadn't slept with that. He didn't sleep with that woman until after college.
That was the one he cheated on her with.
That was in college. They wasn't married.
That added to the trauma.
Oh my goodness.
Just saying.
All I'm saying.
We talking about the dreams right now, Niche. We talking about the dreams.
Hey, somebody had to believe him.
Oh my.
Somebody had his own. That's like if your own wife don't. If your wife don't believe you, who gonna believe you?
Of all the women in the world,
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying.
Really?
She had connections.
Okay.
He literally, like, his whole intentions, y'all, I can't even lie. Like, look, I'm watching the movie, and at the same time, I'm thinking, like, all right, man, he probably about to sleep again. And she really didn't want to do nothing with him. Like, she literally was trying to genuinely help him.
She was supporting
because
him.
she knew that he was very smart and he had something. And he worked at this. Well, she worked at this big firm or whatever, and she, passed it along. Now, as soon as his wife decided to say, no, you gotta go, and the whole family all circled around, I'm like, yeah, nigga, leave. Like, hold on, now it's like, all right. But then when he hit, and he send that money. I'm sorry, you know, he get her the money.
10 mil.
And
He
didn't even have to do that.
That's more than that whole entire family made in that
Man,
By the way,
they
it was
10
like-
million and gave her mama's house back. Here you
Yes,
go.
and let me tell you, what made me mad about Taraji, and I understand she at this point she was at like derangement, asking for half, girl. That judge was right on target when he said he didn't have to give you anything.
Right.
I wasn't married.
He gave you 10 mil. He gave you 10 times how much you had spent, how much you had provided. That man gave you 10 mil. You was out 100 mil. I mean 1 mil and 800. He gave you 10.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, let's be clear about it. And then the way in which he provided it to you, he showed up to your job. He was respectful. He showed the love and recognized, like, you know what? You rocked with me for 18 years, and I will always love you for that. And she said, we ain't never getting back together. You know that? And he said, I know.
Yep.
He did.
So let's be clear. She set up the expectation before he even provided the provision. You know what I'm saying? And so the thing, I'm in my bag tonight. I don't know if anybody's hearing this. I don't know if anybody's hearing this tonight.
Banger. Another one. God dang. Ladies and gentlemen, that's another episode. End it. We can end it. We done. Jeez.
The title of this is Rebecca Dropping Jewels.
Rebecca Dropping Jewels. Dang. Right. Man.
But no, in all seriousness, for real, that is, I know. I can only imagine, you know, providing $1 million for, you know, my significant other and not seeing the benefits of it. What
the fruit of that relationship
on somebody, like, I understand. However, the way in which he handled the situation with such class, there in that moment when he provided that check and how he presented it, there shouldn't have been without a shadow of a doubt that he loved you. You know what I'm saying? And she tried, you know, she showed up in the lingerie at the penthouse that was supposed to be her. Baby, if you could have just tarried just a little while longer. You just did it about 6 months of holding on, you know.
For real.
You know, but then, like, what that does to a person's psyche, because you feel like you've invested all this time and then the other woman reaps the benefits of what the seeds that you have sown. Come on. Like, that's why.
It was almost like the money wasn't even a factor for her anymore.
It wasn't.
It was the dream that she living my dream. Oh yeah,
exactly.
It wasn't even about money.
But hey, Rebecca, what they always tell us at church when people get married.
If anybody opposes or something,
no, keep people out your marriage.
That's
and
right.
what she did was when she allowed that family, even though they was really trying to help him, you know, make some money, because, you know, be a part of the family business or whatnot. And it was like a lifetime opportunity, like either make this trip for them or show up to this meeting that I was supposed to go to.
Oh, yeah.
And so in a way, it was kind of like, because they offered him some money the first time.
800,000, and he said
no. And then you look at, like, in real life, you look at the people like Jeff Bezos, the Bill Gates, they all had to say no to be where they at right now. You know what I'm saying? So he saw something bigger than what they saw, because they was going to be making a ton of money off of his invention.
Yeah.
I think that's the point that, you know, a lot of us are sleeping on. It's a thing of, you know what you're getting into before you get into it, whether you ever want to admit it or you never want to admit it. you know who you're getting into it with, especially when that person proposed to you. Because when a person proposed to you, they're asking you, will you trust me with your vision, with your life, with your emotions, with your intellect, with your everything? And you say yes when you say yes. But then when you say yes, you also propose to them. And you say, will you accept me to trust your ambitions and your blah, 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 blah. Both of them knew what it was when they signed up. She knew she was married to a visionary and a dreamer and a person who is going to, he's right now, hopefully a year away, but if not, he's 5 years away. But this man is relentless. He's been working on this since I started punching him in the rain. And on the flip side, he knew that he was working with a tough woman because she's again, since she was punching me in the rain, she's been tough since then. He knew he had somebody that was strong-willed, strong mind, crazy partially, I don't want to call it a C word and y'all beat me up online, but she definitely was she had a temperament issue, debatably. I don't want no problems, right?
That's a good one.
Yeah, temperament issue. I've been working on this. CMP, what up, gang? So he knew that he had someone that was like that. So it's no surprise at the end when you see an ambitious person successful, and when you see a person who had temperament issues trying to kill you. Like, I mean,
that's real.
It's it's literally the furthest exaggeration that you can take it, but it's dead on. It's like spot on accurate. Yeah. And so I think, just in terms of what we talk about, in terms of the trauma, the individuality, the red flags, the dreaming and hanging on to the dream, the keeping people out of your relationship, the family aspect. It's so many different things that we were able to address in this conversation. And I'm appreciative towards it because even though I don't have like someone trying to like mutilate me, it tells me, like Rebecca said, don't be tone deaf to your spouse.
Man.
You gotta know what they're talking about.
Yes.
And there was something about that, not to prolong it, but when you said that, I got to take up for the fellas, because just like he was excited and she was down, they both could have pulled from each other and communicated and been able to get each other over that hump, because he was 100% happy and she was 0% happy. There needs to be a balance. There needs to be some equality there, even though it's not going to be 50-50. It needs to be a 25-75 until we get over to the other side of happiness together. We just, let me communicate, baby. You doing this, I promise you. If I got to go and I got to get 3 jobs and I got to blah, 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 blah. Like, you need to provide some sort of security, because obviously she don't have a problem with supporting you because she's been doing it for this long. But there's got to be some sort of communication on that sacrifice and gratitude audibly. Like, we need to hear something. We need to see something. So, I've been talking for a minute, but those are things that I felt were necessary too.
It was definitely necessary.
Man, this whole conversation has been amazing.
Right.
Yeah. But I know we gotta go because at this point we had 50 minutes or so. But I just have one question, y'all, before we get off. Was she wrong? That was the big argument when I first saw this movie come out on Facebook. Was she wrong?
Yeah.
I'll go last.
I'm saying yes.
Okay.
I don't know if y'all want an explanation. My answer, yes.
Yes.
I'm going yes.
Oh, we threes. Is that 4?
Okay. Yes, she was wrong. I just see where she came from.
What you got? Oh wait, what you say, Kim? She was wrong.
I said yes, she was wrong. She was wrong. I just understood where it was coming from, but she was wrong.
Yeah. And I agree. And maybe or not, you guys drop down in our comments if you do want to hear another conversation on Acrimony, because we were going back and forth deciding whether or not we wanted to pick some more stuff apart of this movie. But
much.
Yeah, so let us know if this is something that was good. Give some likes on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of that, and let us know if your thoughts of this movie. Was she right or wrong? Your personal examples while dating or in a marriage. And if you want us to come back with another movie. My answer is yes, she's wrong. But like KP said, I do know where she's coming from.
I get it.
But y'all.
Text me if you need me, bro.
Man, and likewise, my brother. Likewise.
No, but for real, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know we've been, kind of off. There's been some things happening with our family, so we have to pay attention to that first and foremost. But we do love y'all. Thank you so much for your support. We will be coming back with another Zoom after this one that drops Friday. We will pretty much, for the most part, be Zoom meetings, because that connection that we have when all three of us is on there together is lit. So we want to keep with that same wave. So comment, subscribe, like, share, all that. Thank you so much, you guys. We love you. TMP.
Hold it down.
Hey.
Hey.
See y'all.